Welcome back to the Orca Boat Shop. My name is Rod, and we are about to start a new project here at the boat shop. This project is going to be a, I guess you would call it a stitch and glue plywood boat from a kit. And first thing I needed to do was create a nice, sturdy, strong, flat table, which is probably going to be the heaviest thing I'm going to have to do on this boat, because the boat at the end of the day is only going to weigh about 80 pounds, and I'm pretty sure this 3/4 inch piece of melamine particle board weighs more than that. And just getting it from the truck to the shop and onto this workbench here was a struggle enough without losing it and denting it. Anyways, what I've got here is a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 melamine on my sawhorses, and my sawhorses have underneath a 2x4 running through the notches on my DeWalt. So the DeWalts, which I like, foldable, light sawhorses, have a notch for the 2x4 to sit in. So I've got that on both sides, and that is going to keep that piece of melamine pretty flat and pretty level, because I need to be able to glue in panels together. I cannot have them being glued together in an angle or uneven, not flat. So I'm even checking here with my 4-foot level, just kind of checking to see that there's no sagging in the middle here. Doesn't appear to be. I think we're pretty good. Hopefully this is going to stay sturdy. I'm not going to be moving this around very much, that's for sure. I had to hope to start this boat about a week or more ago, but I had another project in here when the customer was unable to come and pick it up, and I couldn't just throw it outside. So, you know, things get delayed because of space and people not picking up their projects, even though I give them, hey, your boat's going to be done in about 2 or 3 weeks. Let's start arranging a time to pick it up, but that never seems to work out. This kit was ordered by the customer and from Duckworks and their distribution center out of Port Townsend, Washington. And the model, the boat we are building here, is called the Scout, which is a 10-foot little sailing dinghy. Now, we kind of wanted to do, I guess, an unboxing of sorts, but the customer did also want to come by. So we actually opened this about 2 weeks ago. We came by, we looked to see what's in it. There are a few parts that were missing. We know from the kit they were unable to ship them. I think they're shipping them him directly, so you know, we will get to adding some more parts as the time comes. But the interesting thing about the Scout and this particular design is how they keep it as light as possible. It's 10-foot plywood rowboat with you know, bulkheads and storage compartments and sail and everything. I don't know if the sail included, the mast included, but the boat itself is supposed to come in around 85 pounds. And the way they do that is by a lot of parts, the internal section, rather than being solid wood or plywood, are foam core. So some of these pieces will get covered in wood, and others will just get fiberglassed over top of it. So yeah, we've got a couple of pieces here which make up the seat. Everything is labeled really well. Even the little breast hook or deck is a piece that goes in there, and then there's plywood top and bottom of it. You have the centerboard here, or is that the rudder? I'm not even sure. No, that's the rudder. That's actually foam as well, and I understand we're just going to coat that with a couple of coats of epoxy and paint. Here you have the centerboard. Now I just wonder how fragile some of these pieces are. Got to be very careful not to break or drop. So, and the other interesting thing, you know, spacers that go into pieces. So when plywood is glued together to create, i.e., the centerboard trunk box, there's spacers that go in just to keep it aligned, and then that spacer comes out. But interesting is the gunnels themselves. We have here long pieces of this foam. They are labeled gunnel starboard, gunnel port. So these actually interlock with the same sort of puzzle joint as the plywood does, And then this gets glued to the boat, and then there's a piece of plywood gets glued underneath, a piece of plywood gets glued on top, and then all trimmed, and then a piece of plywood gets glued to the outer or interface. So, you know, rather than solid rails, that's how the weight is kept down. Of course, the big question is going to be is where am I supposed to keep all these pieces in this small shop when I'm not using them or not assembling them. I'm more concerned about these foam pieces than any of the lumber pieces. The lumber I could easily stack over on the back wall there. Probably going to try and put some up on the rack. And let's get started with finding the hull pieces, because I think we'll just glue those puzzle joints together first, and that'll be our project for today. I've sorted out all the planking. There are 3 planks per side, and they're all labeled, and the instruction manual says start off by gluing them together with all the labeling facing up, which I've got sorted out here. Table is definitely big enough. The question will be is, can I glue these down together and get them flat on the table? Do I have enough sort of weights? The other option will be to maybe line up all the puzzle joints and then put some glue in, and then put a weight on, like a 2x4 across here, and hold them down. Obviously I don't want anything being glued to my workbench. Well, I'm not likely really going to stick that much to the melamine. However, we certainly will put some plastic and or wax paper underneath. So I'm going to line these all up and get these puzzle joints set together. And we can just tap these joints together. Okay, with the planks done, I'm just going to peel off a piece of paper here. I can cut this, not on that other kind of table, but pieces. That should slide. Under all of them. There's a heck of a lot of sort of plywood shavings that just come straight into the box, and I don't want those all ending up in my epoxy. And we'll need another piece to overtop. Resin has been applied. Okay, so we're just going to seriously double check to make sure P1 is to, or sorry, P2 is to P2. We're basically going to mix up some epoxy, thicken it a little bit, and push it down into these cracks. Put some wax paper over top, and put a lot of weight on top of it, as much weight as I can find. And that will be probably it for today. Now, I don't imagine it's going to take a lot of resin to soak in those joints, so I'm using West System 105 resin, and I'm going to use the 207 special clear coating. It is a slower cure, but I don't have to then worry too much about blushing and sanding off and washing off panels after the fact. And secondly, I'm not sure, whether, we have discussed with the owner of the boat regarding bright work and all. I don't see how one could really do much bright work on a boat like this, considering that they have, carved into all of the planking, the labeling of the parts and pieces. But we may attempt to bright work the shear plank, which would be S and P3. And I'm also adding a little bit of thickener. And in this case, it's West System 404 high density filler. Kind of want it as a thick cream. I don't want it all just going straight through and out the other side of the joint. But I want it thick enough that I can, squeegee and push it down into there. So with 1 pump of resin, 1 pump of hardener on a 3-to-1 mix, I put in about 2 good tablespoons of thickening powder. We shall see how that works. Not too bad. At least 3 good tablespoons now. Kind of just keeping a track of this so that I know in the future how many tablespoons to add to every mix I do. If it's 3 tablespoons for every pump and I'm doing a larger mix, i.e. filleting, whatever, it's nice to know sort of how much to put into there. Take my squeegee and push it down into those joints. This joint is not exactly aligned, so I'm getting a whole bunch of thickened resin stuck in the pattern there. But I should be able to just, where's my hammer? Should be able to just tap that down on this side here. Better. We put our second piece of wax paper over top. Put a nice big 2x4 on there. On the edge here I can clamp. And we've got some lead here. And it would almost be worth drilling some holes in the table here so that I could run clamps through, some sort of like a pull downs. Alright, now we start adding some weights. Got some lead, but a big bucket of clamps should do the job. And that's basically it until that epoxy sets up tomorrow. With those 6 panels glued up, we're going to just let that sit overnight. So I'm going to stop this video. It's only a short little introductory video of unboxing the parts and gluing up the first couple. I am going to continue on in the series of building Scout. So if you're interested, consider first of all giving me a thumbs up on the video and becoming a subscriber and follow along as we complete this construction. And as always, thank you very much for watching.